Hey guys, thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel, the place where I share my fashion and beauty shenanigans. So if that is your thing, consider subscribing to my channel. And other than that, let's just get right into this video. In this video, I'm going to share my own top tips for a put together, clean and less obvious makeup look. Rather than sharing my own daily routine and what works for me personally, these are some more universal tips that can elevate the look of everyone. My first tip is probably gonna be really obvious to some and it's gonna be really not obvious to others, and that is to always use a primer under your makeup. A primer can have a few different properties, but the primer that I personally use is one that smooths out the skin, minimizes the look of pores, making the rest of the makeup you put on top of the primer look that much more seamless and well smoothed out. The primer that I personally use is from Hourglass Cosmetics, and more than just what I just mentioned, it is also waterproof. Once you apply the primer to your face and you apply your foundation or your powder on top of it, it's gonna lock in the rest of the products. More than being waterproof, this primer is highly breathable, meaning that your skin is able to breathe and sweat right through the primer during the day, which means that during the day you're not gonna push off the makeup, and this can and will make your makeup last so much longer throughout the day. And I think in terms of looking put together, having makeup that doesn't slide off of your face in the beginning of the day is really gonna make a huge difference. I want to add that some primers come with other properties. They are often sold as being mattifying or moisturizing, and in my opinion, this should not be your primer's job. If you're dealing with dry skin or if you're dealing with oily skin, in my opinion, this should be taken care of in other parts of your routine, seeing as, for example, a primer being a very thin layer to the skin that protects the skin. Aiming for that to be a layer that adds moisture, to me seems a bit like a waste of what a primer should be doing. So if you're looking for something that is gonna moisturize or make your skin look more moisturized, I would do that at other times in your routine, and the same goes for a mattifying look as well. This is a small tip for if you're someone with a very simple makeup routine and maybe you're not super confident in doing your makeup. This can really take your look from makeup-y to more all around pulled together. A bronzer is supposed to warm up the skin and goes into the shadows of your faces, and a blusher is meant to freshen up the skin and goes on the apple of your cheeks and all the way up to your temples. Once you're done applying your bronzer or your blusher or both, take one of the two and gently massage it into the crease with your eyeshadow brush. This is super easy to do. It's not gonna look very eyeshadowy, it's gonna look really natural, but it's really gonna tie the look together because the same color that goes on your cheeks or somewhere else in your face is going again on the eyes, and the cohesiveness of also putting that on the eyelid is gonna make it look like the color is coming from within rather than from makeup. A small side tip to this is also, it's very important to get both a bronzer and a blusher that is matched with the undertone of your own skin color, meaning that if you're someone with a cool undertone, don't aim for an orangey or a peachy blusher, and vice versa. When it comes to a bronzer, over the past few years, a bronzer with a cool undertone has become very popular. In my opinion, unless you're aiming to directly contour with your bronzer, consider getting a warm toned one, even if you are a cool toned like I am, because it is gonna warm up the skin, and if you're just very sparse with it, it's not gonna look over the top. So if you are someone that don't mind wearing a little eyeshadow, very little goes a really long way, and it can be extremely easy and just frame the eyes in a really pretty way. The way that I do my own eyeshadow every day, because I'm impatient and this looks great, is that I usually only use one eyeshadow. The color that I picked for myself is a neutrally undertoned earthy color, and when I put this on my eyelid, it is gonna look really natural, it is gonna look really soft. And how I apply the eyeshadow is I take just my blending brush, I start in my crease, I go in there, I move back and forth. It's super easy to blend it out. The eyeshadow that I use is from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and it blends exactly like butter. It is so smooth, meaning that I never have to spend more than like a maximum of 3 to 5 seconds blending on each eye. After that, I go in with the same brush if I'm lazy, or a smaller eyeshadow brush, and I blend it under the eyes as well. And although it might look a little bit weird until after you also applied your mascara, once you do put your mascara on, it's gonna look much better. So just apply the eyeshadow first. Don't judge it until you have your mascara on. And since this is already framing the eye in a really soft way, I always leave out putting mascara on the underlashes of my eye because I think framing the eye in a more soft way is gonna look much more natural. My next tip is for using a lip liner, and this is something I do myself when I'm feeling particularly off and still need a boost, or just if I'm going out. I have a lip liner that is almost exactly the same color as my own lips. It's a little bit on the darker side, and sometimes I take the lip liner and I just gently frame the outside of my lip. I don't overdraw them, I just draw exactly where my own lips are, and this is just gonna sharpen the line of your own lips, and somehow it's just gonna make you look more put together even though it still looks really natural. So obviously it's not gonna be exactly the same color as your lips, which is why I like to go into the corner of the lips. I might take a finger and blend it out a little bit, and sometimes for a more wet look I go in with a lip gloss in the middle, which is also what I'm wearing right now. And this tip is especially helpful if you're someone who finds that lipstick is a bit too much for you. When you do find a lip liner that is close to your own colored lips, it is so easy. It takes very little practice to follow the line of your own lips, and it's just gonna look more natural and more effortless and less out there than a lot of lipsticks would have done. This next tip is definitely the one that takes the most effort and time. Once you do get yourself into it, it is gonna make it easier and much faster to apply your makeup on a daily basis, but some preparation does go into it. And that is never ever draw in your eyebrows. I'm a bit worried I might get a little bit of shade from this, but working as a professional makeup artist, I have come to form the opinion that a drawn on or even just a drawn in eyebrow is always gonna look a little bit done and a little bit makeup-y. And if you're someone like me who do appreciate makeup and wearing multiple products at the same time, something like having your eyebrow be completely natural is just gonna take your makeup look from makeup-y to less done. So if you're someone who's watching this and you feel like, well, I have holes in the eyebrow that needs to be filled in, my eyebrows are very sparse, I totally get you, I'm totally with you. One thing that I would always recommend my clients to do is to go home, grow out your eyebrows completely, even if it's gonna take you 3, 4, 5, 6 months, which it did to me originally. Let them grow out completely without touching them. For some people that have been over plucking their brows when they were younger, or for some other reason just have a really sparse brow, I really recommend looking into getting a eyebrow serum. I'm gonna link to the one that I know for sure works in the description. This is not sponsored, by the way, but I have seen it work for so many again and again. However, more often than not, you might actually be someone that already has enough eyebrow to have a full brow that you don't have to draw in, but a lot of the time the small sparse hair in your eyebrows are gonna be so light that they're just gonna add fluff to the eyebrow, but no color and no texture, and it's not gonna add to the fullness of the brow either. So what I do is I already have my eyebrows in my desired shape. I do wax my eyebrows myself, but I do recommend, if you're not too confident yet in finding the right shape for your own eyebrows, do go to a professional, maybe just one time. Let them help you out with the shape. They know what they're doing. They won't mess up your eyebrow if you just find a proper place, of course. But then after they have helped you out with the shape, you can maintain it yourself using wax or plucking, or if it takes you a while to get confident enough, you can go back to the brow specialist a few times until you get it down. And then what you can do at either the brow specialist, but I like to do this myself at home. It is really easy. All you need is eyebrow dye, a Q-tip, and some Vaseline, and you outline the eyebrows and you put the dye on there and you take it off 3 minutes later, and all of the small sparse hair that you have are now going to be colored, and they're going to add to the structure and the fullness of your brow. So I actually have very light eyebrows, which is why I do this every other week. It takes no time, and by now I can almost do it in my sleep, so it's really not a big deal. But it does also mean that once I go to do my makeup in the morning, all I need to do to prep my eyebrows is I use a clear brow gel, and then I brush my eyebrows upwards and to the side. This makes sure that the small holes that I do have in my eyebrows are gonna get covered a little bit, because I do have them and you might still, but just brushing the hair upwards and to the side are gonna cover most of them. And honestly, if you can get yourself to take that tip, doing your eyebrows every day is gonna be so easy, and also you're never gonna mess up and they're gonna look flawless, and most importantly to me anyway, they're gonna look really natural every day, and it's just gonna take you from done or makeup-y to, in my opinion, really natural, put together and more expensive looking. These were actually all of the tips that I had prepared for this video. Yeah, I tried my best to come up with the ones that I really think are universally true, that could be helpful to, if not everyone, then anybody. If you had a favorite tip, or if there's a tip that you think you are going to use in your own routine, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it out. And if you stuck with me this far and you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so, because in that case, I'd love to have you back too as well. Yeah.